Ada tried to read his expression, but she never could, for his bushy red beard seemed to grow straight down out of his hat, and only the tip of his nose showed. She watched him tear off some green grass blades at the forest edge and feed them to the spotted cows. Then he disappeared partway up a steep trail near the dock, returned, and set off up the beach. Ada stayed in the silence with their pile of possessions. Deep inside the bonnet, her bow-shaped mouth was grave. Her dark brows almost met above her nose. Her eyes were round and black. She made herself look around. The beach was a narrow strip of pebbles, stones, and white old logs laid end to end in neat rows like a necklace where the beach met the forest. The clouds overhead were still. There were no waves. It was not quite raining, but everything was wet. She saw a few frail smokes and some cabins under the trees back of the dock. She missed seeing the cabins at first because they were among the roots of the trees, and she had been searching too high, thinking the trees were smaller. In all those days of sailing past the trees, she had nothing to size them by. Rooney came back beside her and said nothing. While Ada stared at the glassy water, here came an Indian man. The Indian man, in a plug hat, was paddling a dugout canoe in smooth water along shore. He had another canoe trailing behind him, and no one in it. He was a smooth-bodied, almost naked man, whose face had a delicate, modest expression. The plug hat sat oddly high on his head. Little Claire must have caught sight of him, for he came flying down to the shore. The man beached the log canoe. Claire marched directly into the water to try to help, and the man looked down at the boy and his wet breeches with a trace of a smile. He brought the other canoe along shore. What was in the second canoe was feathers. It was white goose feathers, just loose. Ada looked out at Rooney. His mouth behind his red beard showed nothing, but she could see that he glanced at her from under his hat brim. The man came forward and said his name was Chawitsit. They knew he must be a Lummi Indian, for the schooner man said the local people were Lummis and right friendly. He had said, in fact, that the settlement at Whatcom would have starved to death a dozen times without the Lummis. Now the Lummi man and Rooney shook hands. He indicated, speaking English in a tender voice and making gestures, that he was selling the feathers. He said that the whole canoe load of feathers was 2 cups of molasses. He barely moved his lips when he spoke. His voice lilted. Rooney told the fellow no, and thanked him. He added that they could use fresh fish or meat or vegetables if he could get them. He could. Rooney thanked him again, and his high voice cracked. It was all coming home to Rooney here, Ada thought, where one powerful effort was ending and another was beginning. They tied the cows and left their outfit on the beach. Chawitsit led them up the hillside on a short trail through the woods. From behind Rooney, Ada watched Chawitsit's sure feet on the steep trail. In the past 6 months she had engaged in a great many acts of commerce with a great many native men of many tribes, and had accustomed herself to the sight of grown men's buttocks. Claire ran on ahead, ran back, and said, "Here's a house," which she could plainly see, a log house across the creek from what she knew was Felix Rush's sawmill. The log house was low in the forest, and there were slumps and slash smoking all around it in the dirt. Chawitsit walked straight inside, and the fishburns hung back on the bare ground. Ada glimpsed a blue apron, a white woman's face. She heard the woman greet the bare-legged Chawitsit with glad sounds, and they started talking. Then the woman came out, all smiling, and caught hold of Ada, hauled her inside, and began to weep. Ada gave in to weeping, too. The baby woke up and commenced to bawl. Rooney went out to have a look at the mill. Chawitsit had taken off his hat in the house, and Ada saw that the top of his head was flattened into a